Mind the wording.
Someone want to jump in? Who disagree? Well, he's really eager. Okay, let's go.
So I disagree because I don't think it's just what happened in the past. I think significant events that occurred in the past, not just like anything that happened.
Just significant events?
Yeah.
Or how do you decide that?
It's events that are worth writing down and remembering for the future.
Who decides that?
Society.
Who's society?
People.
So everyone together sits down and they go,
No,
was
but
9/11
like,
like significant?
yeah, but like when there's something that needs to be written down or something that people get shocked by in the moment, obviously, and stuff that we can learn from the past. That's what I would define as history.
I think it means like something that had a lasting impact.
Lasting impact? How do we even measure lasting impact though?
If it affected and impacted people's lives.
So was the Mayan Empire's collapse, is that historical?
Maybe.
Does it impact you in any ways? Have the Mayans impacted you in the last?
Yeah.
There were a lot of people at that time.
Probably.
What about now? Long-lasting impact?
No.
Questionable, right? She looks like she wants to jump in. Let's go for it.
I think Aziz agrees with most of Adam, which is what I also want to do. I think history is like a documentation of significant events or impactful events that basically impacted like societies or communities, and then collectively, as we grew as a civilization, people started like documenting similar things, and then seeing like we have this in common, or like a similar event happened to you, and then we grew based on that.
Corroboration is what you're trying to say. There has to be corroboration, though, is what you're saying. Okay.
I don't think history is what happened in the past. I think it's what scholars interpreted that happened in the past.
Elaborate.
Because, I mean, there's always natural bias from any type of historian. Where, like, when you're always going to have an opinion whenever you go over something. So history can never be, like, fully unbiased and accurate. So, yeah, like, every person is probably going to have a different interpretation of what history is.
Julian Fulmer,
Just Julian.
Yeah.
I want to actually agree with Ahmed a lot because, like, even when history is being written, like, people can change stories. Like, Jasper gave a really good example. He said that Egypt had a fight against another enemy, and Egypt reported that they won by a landslide. But then the other side reported that it was pretty much a draw. So it's like history, there's not like right or wrong. It's kind of actually subjective in a weird sense. So it's not like this happened or not, right?
Oh my God, you guys read my mind. So that's essentially the next slide, right? Is that history is not what happened in the past, right? It's what historians told us happened. That's super duper important, right? Because what would happen, let's say if there was a society and then the society was conquered and all their documents were burned. How do we know about that society now? Yeah.
We'll never know. And this is basically who won, is who told the story.
Exactly, right? So we would only know through the eyes of those who conquered them.
I think that's a good point actually, because if somebody in the past just went and took all the knowledge from somebody and then just said it's mine now, and then written that down and documented that, then for the rest of history that would be that guy's work and not the other ones.
Yeah, there's just bias, right? That's a key word to know. Bias, subjectivity. It's important to basically consider what documents have survived. And I think about this a lot with our generation, right? Because in 2025, so much is documented, right? Like so much. You guys have your own documentations. But even just 40, 50 years ago, how did people communicate primarily? Like if I wanted to...
Letters.
Yeah, it's like letters, right? It's really hard. There's only so many documentations of events that have transpired.
I'm sure they documented a lot. I think it's just a matter of if they preserved it or not.
No, I'm just talking, like, for example, I could get your iPhone. I don't know how much you text, etc., but I could get loads of data, right? From your emails, texts, there's this wealth of sources you've made. If you look at someone 40 years ago, like let's say me and my mom, we would just be the letters, and there's only so many letters we write. I don't know how much you write your parents, right? But you're not writing like, you know what I mean? You're not writing them a lot if you're writing by hand. So just the amount of data is so much more than it was in the past. I think, yeah, there's some, I mean, so yeah, you guys pretty much said what I was gonna say, that there's a bit of bias, There's a bit of multiple perspective. So it's kind of like a detective, and it connects to the activity we did last class, right? Which was, you looked at Edison, you looked at the different patents, and how something as simple as like inventing the light bulb, depending on the resource, depending on who's providing the resource, the perspective is very different. I think it's a good review too, of primary versus secondary. Osmans, do you remember primary versus secondary?
Sources.
Yes.
Yes.
What's the difference?
So primary is from the source that like secondary is from the like the other people that read the let's say the primary sorry.
So primary is when it happened, right? The letters from the time, the speeches from the time, the transcripts from the meetings, that is primary. Secondary is later on. Historians have looked at the data, they've aggregated it, and they've come up with a conclusion. There's pros and cons, right? The secondary, they have an advantage because they have all this data, right? It's all this sources left, but they also have a disadvantage. That data might be gone. And then vice versa. Primary can be good too because it happened, right? It actually happened. If you read Anne Frank's diary, Anne Frank actually said those things, right? She was there, right, in 1940, whatever. I can't remember which year she died, but it was in the 1940s, right, late 1930s. So history isn't what happened in the past. The big thing is you're gonna have sources and you're gonna analyze those sources. So how is history produced? Well, researchers will look at various informations, and I think someone brought this up a second ago. Corroboration, right? That's how we know if things from 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago might be true, is you can find different historians saying different things, but there's gonna be some sort of neutral ground, right? So I think a good example would be, I think we talked about this last time, World War II, Japan and the US, right? They're gonna have slightly different perspectives on the nuclear weapons, but there's no doubt that the date it was dropped on, right? There's no doubt that the plane was Enola Gay. There's no doubt about how many people it killed. There's no doubt that there was nuclear radiation, right? There's a certain level of corroboration that is not distorted, but other things can be distorted. So for example, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. It's a common phrase used in social studies, history. What we mean by that is the perspective of trying to think of an example right off the top of my head. Let's say in Afghanistan, there's like a terrorist attack on US soldiers. From the view of people who support the terrorists, they're heroes, right? They sacrifice their lives. But from the view from the American government, it's like, why did you kill these 20-something-year-old soldiers? They had so much left in their lives, right? So very important to understand multiple perspectives. We're almost there. Maybe about 2 more minutes, then we'll wrap this up. So 3 steps I want you to know when you do history detective activities. First, look at the information and discuss about the information itself. Second, using the evidence, answer the questions on a separate sheet of paper. And finally, you come up with a decision about things like its main reasoning, the evidence, and so forth. Again, we're not doing this today, though. This is something we should have already done last time with detectives. And on that note, we made it all the way. So let me just wrap things up. The last things I need to tell you for today are the following. Please review this little imperialism cheat sheet that you have annotated today. There will be a formative next class. It's gonna be about an hour where you're gonna get 9 sources. So Sally and Sila, I don't know if you guys have done this before, but it's like where you get primary resources, secondary resources. Using those resources, you'll answer a very abstract question like, who was impacted by imperialism or something, or what was the effect of imperialism? It's gonna be very abstract. So be ready to do that. Maybe watch a quick 10-minute YouTube video. The great news is this, it's a formative. It doesn't really count, right? It's just a way for me to get your work, give you back feedback, and give you a grade 1 to 7, just so you kind of get an idea, where am I, right? Am I at a 6 right now? Am I at a 2 right now? It's a general metric. So if you don't want to study it too much, that's fine. Some of you might be able to freestyle, still pull off 5s and 6s. Most of you probably not, though. So I would maybe spend at least 10-15 minutes reviewing just the core tenets of imperialism so you're ready for this formative. And on that note, any questions, comments, concerns? We're all doing good? Yes, Osman?
Can we just review the sheet you gave us?
I would say that, plus if you want to watch maybe a crash course, like Yeah, like one video, 10 minutes. I think that might be a nice little extra.
Just imperialism.
That's it, just imperialism. And the question itself, you'll actually get in advance. I'll post it tonight or tomorrow. I can't remember. The other grade 10 class has posted it.
So we can practice like the essay at home.
If you want to, but it gets informative, so like don't overly prepare, because then I feel like
What's the format?
peel paragraph, like a mega peel.
We get the whole. How much time do you have to do it?
1 hour.
Okay.
So basically the whole period.
So wait.
Sources?
Yeah, 9 sources.
So we have to base our peel on that.
Off those sources, yeah.
And we'll get them only when we get to class.
Exactly, yeah. So it's a little bit challenging on that end.
I'm gonna get over.
Otherwise, we good? We good? You can probably cut the camera.